we've had a few clues about that the last couple of days in terms of a sector that's more cooperative and coherent, and that really focuses on the end-to-end experience of the service user. And I think that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any challenges that you see in the sector?
Quite a few.
Yeah,
Quite a few. Well, I think we're still maturing as a sector.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've still got a bit of an attitude of we'll wait for the funding bodies to set the agenda for us. And I think we're just getting to a point, and there's been elements of that at this conference, I think, where we say, actually, why would we continue to do that? The sector can set the agenda, and perhaps the funders will catch up.
So is that in terms of the service system framework review?
That's part of it. I think, the things that Bruno had us think about in terms of, well, what do we do with the data we're collecting? Yeah. Why wouldn't we just start sharing what we can to make some improvements? I think things like that are it's a bit like a child waiting for a parent to give it permission to go to the shop and buy an ice cream, compared to a more mature person just deciding, I'll figure out how I spend my money.
So you think it's building on existing kind of structures, or is it completely...
No, I think it's building on existing structures. I think that we've had people in most of the sessions I've been at talk about there's actually a lot of good things we already do. We don't need to dismantle the whole thing. So I think the existing structures, service provision structures are basically sound. The structure that might change is the relationship between funders and providers, and I think the entry of PHT into that space has probably helped in terms of their capacity to say, here's what people need from an AOD sector. So we'll see what the market can provide for us. Now that they've done that once, and that was not an ideal process. Perhaps that will get better over time. And the framework the service system framework will certainly introduce some accountability into that.
The frame that whole discussion.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You can't have a discussion. Well, you can have discussions which aren't included in the frame, but they need to be very compelling to get everyone's attention.
That's
I think.
Right. Yeah. Until that framework's kind of in place, it's hard to kind of make decisions and move forward with those sort of big ideas, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've been asking people as well about their sort of thoughts on the Portuguese model as well and decriminalisation. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I think Robin set the scene for us around that. There's hasten slowly in that space. Personally, I think it has a great deal of appeal and makes a good deal of common sense. I'm not exactly sure what process Portugal had to go through to be ready to make that step. The advantage of it for us, I think, is that we can point to it seems to have worked, or here's what's happened through decriminalisation in a jurisdiction not totally unlike Australia or Tasmania. Here's what they did, and here's where they got it wrong. And I think we can. That'll be a slow burn, that one, but I'd be surprised if we haven't made some progress on that, certainly within 10 years.
Yeah, we've got a good case study, haven't we, with Portugal, to see how it worked, and there's certainly a lot of data to support it. So
yeah. But the American model of kind of driving to the cliff and saying, okay, it's decriminalised in relation to cannabis, there might be something we can learn from that as well, both in terms of how to do it and how not to do it, because in some ways it's as simple as we just make the decision and the rest will work out. But we don't have a great. I think the issue is we often look to, well, how's that worked with tobacco and with alcohol? And there are very powerful commercially vested interests that have hijacked the agenda, really.
That's right.